What's up, my dudes? In this video I wanted to talk about my current impression of classic WoW as a guild leader and as a YouTuber and just a guy who loves the game. Also, I wanted to talk about what I'm looking forward to because there is a lot to come and it feels like, we've gone through so much in such a short span of time, yet there's really so much more to the game that hasn't been experienced yet, which is why I'm really hyped to set this video up and talk to you guys about this kind of content. Now, I started the game out on August 27th when the release was there. I basically spent the first week of my time working on the classic WoW UI that is on my YouTube channel. I had several days playtime on my main. At around, it must have been like level 18, and I would even have like 8 hours plus on level 1 characters just simply because I would be constantly on them working through the UI on different characters, just trying to make sure that everything worked and stuff like that. So it took me about 7 days, about 14 hours each day working on that UI, and I finally got it done to where I was able to then experience the game. And once I was able to, it was a blast. I must say, I had a ton of fun leveling up, and that's also probably mainly because, Hordes weren't really that high level. We were all sort of on the same playing field, so a lot of ganking was not yet happening at the time. Sort of beat out the first initial wave and made it through there. My played time as a result of creating the UI was abysmal. When I got to level 60, I think it was at about like 14 days or something ridiculous. I went through with my friend Tivadar, who is a warrior tank, through nearly every instance as we leveled up, and I was healing for him, so it was pretty easy to find groups. We just needed the 3 DPS. At the time, I was not yet setting up my own guild alongside Tivadar because he's the current co-founder and co-GM of the guild that we have now. At the time, I was in another guild called Kin, which ended up falling apart later, but we left earlier than that happening. But as we were leveling up, I think we were around the 30 region. Tivadar and I were talking about potentially starting a new guild, and so that's what we did. I took the responsibility as a guild master, and really the guild was going nowhere. We had about 30 members, and it was nearly impossible seemingly to recruit anyone. And then at a certain point, we got lucky enough to be able to get enough people in, and it was just sort of a snowball effect to where, we had enough people to be able to level with, which was really nice, and it just made for an awesome experience. So I really recommend, if you guys are playing the game, and I'm sure this is already the case for you, to join a guild and be a part of a community, because it really makes a difference. And I love what guilds can become. It can become a family, a team, and so I've never led a classic WoW raiding guild, so it was really cool getting into raids and starting that up. And we started out on the server Stalag, which, by the way, is not a low population server. The only problem is that it was one of the worst servers in terms of the balance between Alliance and Horde. So we were at about 30% ally, sometimes less, and we stuck it out, man. We stayed there for months and months. Even when free transfers were offered to go to Heartseeker, I believe it was, we didn't take it. It was only until a certain point where we just all decided that, there's so few allies, it's hard to level with people at this point, that we would move to another server, and that's what we did. We came to Grobulus, of all servers. It's an RP PvP server. I wouldn't give it a bad rap. A lot of people were kind of worried about going into that RP server in the guild. Obviously, I assume that if I go to Goldshire, it's going to be a weird situation. But what's nice about the RP server is that there's actually RP events and stuff. If you embrace that and you sort of just be a part of the community in that sense, it's kind of cool. I don't really have an RP approach to the game. In fact, many of the people on the RP PvP server on Grobulus, they don't as well. But it's fun nonetheless to sort of at times try stuff like that out. To get into raids specifically with Onyxia, I recall that it was sort of a bumpy start for us. I know it's the easiest raid in the game, but nonetheless, it took some effort. I think the first time we went, we got it clear the first time, no problems, there was no wipes, and we got it done. The second time, we couldn't say the same, and I think it was just because we got lucky the first time with pugs and stuff like that. But eventually, we sort of started cleaning it up, and in the general sense, aside from a couple times, it's been pretty much a one-shot. Now, for Molten Core, we've been really working on our time. Our last MC run on Grobulus, which was our first MC on Grobulus, was kind of a nightmare, if I gotta be honest with you. It was probably our worst raid yet. And that was mostly, I think, because there were new people coming in. We were sort of lacking healers, specifically Holy Paladins, which is really a big deal, I think. And anyways, excuses, I know. We'll really try to improve next time and get that done. As for Phase 2.5, I guess you would call it, with the Battlegrounds coming out with Warsong Gulch and Alterac Valley, I personally had a lot of fun with this, and I'm still having fun. Alterac Valley is always an exciting thing. And, you know, I go into the pre-made discords, and I'm usually the one to lead the pre-mades, and it's pretty fun. And it's definitely a change from how it was in vanilla, I'm sure. And I mean, I was like 10 years old or something when that came out, but nonetheless, I'm really excited to be back in it. And Alterac Valley was one of like the biggest things for me. I was always looking forward to that, and to be able to just get into it at any time, queue at any time, is super, super cool. The world bosses are definitely an interesting one. I have yet to experience Kazakh. I was present for a kill on Azure Ghost, but I believe it was the Horde that ended up killing Azure Ghost when I was in the area. I was just sort of a spectator, if anything, but it was definitely a chaotic and fun experience, and I love being able to go into the world and just sort of experience like that Horde versus Ally kind of thing going on, and you really feel connected to that, which is cool. Also, another really cool thing about Classic WoW is the fact that it's just simply not a private server. You know, I've been playing on private servers for years with Tivadar, and it's always a super fun thing, but it's like you make your main and then you think to yourself, well, is it worth making an alt? Is it worth putting in this amount of time, that amount of time? You know, you have to weigh that in, because ultimately you're going to end up leaving the server to play Classic WoW. But here we are in Classic WoW, and it's awesome because you could basically invest the time that you want to invest and be reassured that everything will be as it is and it will remain. And if you want to change servers, you don't have to create a new character on another server. You could pay to have your main transfer, and that's something I really appreciate. You know, and Phase 3 is coming up pretty soon. On Wednesday, February 12th, we're getting Blackwing Lair, level 50 class quests, new reputation rewards from Argent Dawn, Thorium Brotherhood, Timbermaw Hold, Silverwing Sentinels, and Warsong Outriders. The Eternal Quintessence, which is going to be awesome, just being able to have that douse on hand for Molten Core without having to go back to Ashara every raid. It'll be just a great thing. And then Darkmoon Fair, which I really miss personally. I think that added such a cool sort of element to the real world experience in Classic WoW, and I just really appreciate that being available, and the fact that we're going to get it quite soon here is exciting. But guys, Blackwing Lair, the attunement for this raid is out, and I'm sure many of you are already attuned. Just a really exciting prospect to think about getting into Blackwing Lair and really challenging your guild and seeing how far you guys are willing to go, because Blackwing Lair can really test you. So I'm definitely looking forward to the challenge, and I want to see how my guild personally reacts. And you know, Tier 2 is coming out. People are going to start looking like their class. For me as a paladin, of course, I can't wait for Judgment to come out. That's an awesome looking set. So in a way, of course, with every phase, your character gets upgraded. And I don't know about you guys, but on my bucket list is to be able to complete Nax 40 man in Classic WoW. That is a tall order, I know, because of how much people say the instance is quite the challenge, but man, I'm down for it. I really am. And as time goes on, I'm sure as you guys are in your guilds with mine, you know, we're really starting to get to know each other. We're not a private server guild. You know, we started here and we're working through this thing together. And, you know, we go through some tough times. You know, some people cause dramas and stuff, but what's ultimately awesome in the end is that we stick together and we make it happen no matter what. But again, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, working on a user interface, I know a lot of people aren't into the whole add-on scene, but for me, it was really fun. I have a lot of fun with experimenting with the UI because it changes your user experience completely. I really think that's the case. Let me know what you guys think about Classic WoW. Let me know what you're looking forward to. I know there's a lot coming in. So yeah, man, I hope you guys are all good. I'll talk to you dudes soon. Peace out.
Let's see it. Let's see it. Yes.
Oh, it's my epic man! Let's go, boys!
Let's go!
Yeah, boys.
Yeah,
Good work, boys. Let's go. Let's go, dude. Let's get that screenshot.